The wheat field shimmers gold under Pennsylvania's sun. In 3 hours, 15,000 Confederate soldiers will cross this ground. Most won't return. Their voices, preserved in letters and diaries, tell us what history books cannot, how courage feels before death arrives. "My dearest Sarah," Private David Johnston writes with trembling hand, "if you receive this letter, know I thought of your smile." He folds the paper carefully, places it in his breast pocket. The bugle sounds. Time has run out completely. You think you know Gettysburg's third day, the grand assault, the failed charge. But have you heard William Cushing describe the taste of gunpowder on his tongue? Or James Kemper's confession that he counted his own heartbeats before advancing? General Longstreet cannot speak the order. His throat closes. He merely nods. Pickett understands. This is suicide dressed as honor. "I shall lead my division forward, sir," Pickett says. Both men know they're sending Virginia's sons to their systematic slaughter. Behind Seminary Ridge, a rabbit freezes in the grass. Artillery wheels crush wildflowers. Nature doesn't comprehend what approaches. Sergeant Thomas Chamberlain notices these small details, how life continues its ordinary rhythms even as 12,000 men prepare to charge across open ground. The mathematics are simple: 3/4 of a mile of open field, 150 Confederate cannons firing, 90 Union guns responding. But Private Eugene Blackford sees only his brother's face beside him. They promised their mother they'd stay together. They will. What does the soul do in its final hour? Colonel Burkett Fry knows. He watches his men kneel in prayer, write names on scraps of paper, pin them inside jackets. Identity tags don't exist yet. They're improvising their own remembrance. Cannon fire begins at 1 o'clock sharp. The sound isn't what you'd expect, not thunder, but something alive screaming. Windows shatter in Gettysburg town. Horses drop dead from fear alone. Earth itself seems to convulse and reject what's happening. Private John Dooley closes his eyes and sees Richmond's streets, his sister's wedding, Sunday dinners. These memories feel more real than the field before him. The mind's gift is this: offering beauty as counterweight to approaching horror. He opens his eyes. Listen closely. Beneath the cannon roar, you hear it. Whispered prayers. Nervous laughter. Someone humming Lorena. These are soldiers, really? The average age is 23. They've known more war than peace. Today, most will know neither ever again. Lieutenant George Finley's hands won't stop shaking. Not from fear, from rage. He knows this assault is madness. But orders are orders. He thinks of ancient battles, of Thermopylae. At least those Spartans had a narrow pass to defend. Confederate artillery falls silent. Smoke drifts like morning fog. For a moment, absolute stillness reigns. Birds actually resume singing. Then Pickett raises his sword. Virginians! Today your names become eternal. The lie tastes necessary. Truth would paralyze them all entirely. They step forward in flawless formation, shoulder to shoulder, flags catching July wind. From a distance, it must look glorious, a parade ground exercise. Up close, you see Major Walter Harrison's tears. He's watching friends walk toward invisible scythes that will cut them down. Philosophy fails when grape shot starts flying. Private William Monty sees the man beside him simply vanish. There 1 second, red mist the next. The mind cannot process this. It continues believing he's there, talking to absence as if it were presence. Emmitsburg Road runs diagonal across their path. A simple farm road becomes destiny's boundary. Cross it, and you enter the killing ground proper. Captain James Crocker pauses at its edge. Behind him, 3,000 follow. Ahead lies only mathematics, cold, terminal arithmetic. You want to know what courage is? Watch 19-year-old Willie Pegram maintain precise marching pace while canister shot tears gaps in the line. Watch him close ranks, step over fallen friends, keep moving forward. His body knows what his mind cannot accept. Union guns open with canister, tin cans packed with iron balls. The effect is a giant shotgun. Entire companies disappear. Colonel Lewis Williams watches his regiment shrink from 800 to 200 in minutes. He keeps advancing. What else exists now? Private Erasmus Williams carries the flag of the 14th Virginia. When he falls, John Lawson grabs it. Then Martin Joseph. Then William Smith. 7 men will carry those colors. 6 will die. The 7th will plant it on Cemetery Ridge, alone. Strange details survive. Corporal James Clay notices a butterfly land on his musket barrel mid-charge. Lieutenant Frank Nelson hears a wounded man calling for his dog. These fragments of normalcy are more terrifying than violence. They prove the world continues while men are dying. General Louis Armistead puts his hat on his sword, raises it high. Home, men! Home is just beyond that wall. He means Virginia, but they hear heaven. The metaphor works either way. They surge forward behind him into the intensifying federal fire. Where the stone wall turns, history will call it the bloody angle. Here, everything converges. Confederate momentum meets Union resolution. Men fight with rifles, bayonets, fists, stones. Civilization's veneer vanishes. What remains is older than nations, pure, desperate survival instinct unleashed. Private John Rice reaches the wall first. For one moment, he stands atop it, silhouetted against smoke. He sees Union soldiers' faces, young as his own. Recognition passes between enemies. Then 20 bullets find him simultaneously. He falls backward into waiting Confederate arms. Armistead crosses the wall, hand on a Union cannon. Turn the guns, men, but his soldiers are ghosts now. A bullet finds his chest. He falls beside Union General Winfield Hancock's position. 2 friends from the old army, destiny has placed them as enemies. Mathematics conclude their grim work. 15,000 started. 7,000 return. The field between Seminary and Cemetery Ridge becomes a carpet of gray and butternut. Some crawl. Some call out. Most lie still. The sight breaks something in both armies that never fully mends. Captain William Berkeley drags himself back, using his sword as a crutch. His brother Charles lies somewhere behind. He promised to bring him home. Promises become luxuries the living can't afford. Each step away feels like betrayal. Each step forward feels like survival's guilt. Night falls on July 3rd. Temperature drops. Wounded men between the lines begin calling for water. Their voices merge into one sound, not quite human anymore. It will haunt every soldier who hears it. Some things, once heard, live forever inside you. Do you truly understand loss? Elizabeth Pickett will receive 7 letters over 3 weeks, each reporting different fates for her husband. Killed, wounded, missing, captured, found. Truth becomes irrelevant against uncertainty's weight. This wound of not knowing never closes properly. Private Joseph Graham survives unwounded. Physical intactness becomes its own burden. Why him? He writes, "I feel like a ghost among ghosts, except I'm the one who doesn't belong." Survival requires its own kind of courage, living with questions that have no answers. Morning of July 4th brings rain. It washes blood into the earth, creating dark streams between the bodies. Farmers will say this soil grows different crops afterward, taller, greener, strangely sad. Earth remembers what we try desperately to forget or honor. Confederate medical officer John M. Bowdoin describes the retreat. 17 miles of wounded men in wagons, crying out at every bump. Their screams echo off South Mountain. Locals close their windows. Pain has a sound that transcends cause or country or political conviction. A detail rarely mentioned: hundreds of horses must be shot. They lie wounded, screaming in frequencies that shatter men's composure. Soldiers who held firm during the charge break down entirely now. Animal suffering proves more unbearable than human. Innocence likely demands deeper grief. Major Edmund Berkeley writes to his wife, "We have been to Pennsylvania, that's all." 4 words to contain apocalypse. When language fails this thoroughly, silence becomes more eloquent than speeches. His widow will keep this letter 40 years, understanding its terrible brevity. Union soldiers collect Confederate letters from dead bodies. They read last words meant for wives, mothers, sweethearts. Private Daniel Chisholm starts to mail them, then stops. These words feel too sacred for enemy eyes. He buries the letters. Love stays with the fallen. What Gettysburg teaches isn't about courage or cause. It's simpler: how ordinary people become extraordinary through suffering. How men become statistics. How statistics become memory. How memory becomes myth. How myth replaces the one truth that matters: they were human beings. Pickett never recovers. Asked years later why the charge failed, he says, "I've always thought the Yankees had something to do with it." Dark humor masks darker truth. He lost 3 brigade commanders, 13 of 15 regimental commanders, and his faith in triumph. 20 years pass. Veterans from both sides meet at Gettysburg. They shake hands across the same stone wall. Many weep, not for what they lost, but for what they finally understand. Enemies were just frightened young men following orders nobody should give. Sarah Johnston receives David's last letter 3 weeks after Gettysburg. She reads it daily for 60 years, never marries. When asked why, she says, "I'm still waiting for him to finish his sentence." Love, like grief, ignores time's supposed dominion over memory. The Blackford brothers are found together, as they promised their mother. Eugene's hand rests on William's shoulder. Death came so fast they didn't have time to separate. Their mother insists they be buried in one coffin. Even death can't break some bonds entirely. Old soldiers develop a strange habit. Every July 3rd, wherever they are, they stop at 1 o'clock. They stand still for exactly 47 minutes, the charge's duration. Witnesses don't understand. How could they? Certain experiences exist beyond explanation's reach or language's power. Today, the field is peaceful. Monuments mark where thousands fell. Tourists take photographs. But occasionally, especially in July heat, when afternoon light slants just right, you can almost hear it. That long rising yell as soldiers become history, and history becomes silence. Lieutenant William Fry survives to become a teacher. Students ask about Gettysburg. He tells them about that rabbit in the grass, frozen before the artillery began. They look confused. Don't they understand? The rabbit matters more than strategies. Life's continuity matters more than death's interruption. Records show that Union soldier Amos Humiston died clutching a photograph of 3 children. Nobody knew his name for months. The image circulated until his widow recognized her children's faces. He carried love into battle. Love became his only lasting identity when everything ended. Here's what they don't tell you about courage. It's not the absence of fear. It's moving forward while your mind screams to run. It's maintaining formation while friends disappear beside you. It's discovering that duty can override every instinct evolution gave you. Last Confederate to cross back over Seminary Ridge is Sergeant Benjamin Lunsford. He walks backward, facing the enemy, rifle raised. Not from bravery, he simply can't turn his back on where his friends remain. Retreat often requires more courage than any charge. Mary Custis Lee, the general's wife, will say, "My troops never came home from Pennsylvania." She means this literally and metaphorically. Even those who returned physically left something irretrievable on that field. Every Virginia household now has a permanently empty chair waiting. Private Samuel Pauley is found alive beneath bodies 3 days later. He survived by drinking rainwater mixed with blood. When asked how he endured, he says, "I thought about bread." Fresh bread. In extremity, survival depends on remembering the smallest, most ordinary treasures existence offers. Do you want to understand Pickett's charge? Don't study tactics. Read 19-year-old George Forrester's letter. "Mother, I am about to do something that makes no sense. I do it anyway." This is either courage or insanity. Remember me as your son. Confederates leave behind 7,000 shoes on the battlefield. Their feet, swollen from marching, had burst through leather. They charged barefoot across stubbled fields. Pain layered upon pain. Yet they advanced. Human capacity for endurance defies every logical measurement or reasonable expectation. A Union nurse, Cornelia Hancock, writes, "I've stopped distinguishing between blue and gray. Pain sounds the same. Death looks identical. God sorts no uniforms." War's ultimate lesson isn't about sides. It's about suffering's universality and compassion's necessity when ideology finally falls silent. Pickett's report to Lee consists of 11 words. "General, I have no division now." Lee responds with 5. "This has been my fight." Between these two broken commanders, 16 words contain 3,000 deaths. Brevity becomes the only bearable acknowledgement of unbearable loss. Private Alexander Webb watches Confederates retreat. Instead of cheering, Union soldiers stand silent. They've seen too much. Victory tastes like copper pennies, the flavor of blood. Nobody celebrates. They just breathe, grateful and guilty for still being able to do so. The charge lasted 47 minutes. Less than an hour to destroy 10,000 lives, wreck 100,000 futures, and haunt 1,000,000 dreams. Time proves elastic during trauma. Survivors will swear it lasted hours or seconds. Memory reshapes duration to manageable doses. Here's the detail that breaks hearts. Many Confederate wounded call for their mothers, not God. In extremity, we return to our first love, our original safety. 20-year-old soldiers become 5-year-old children again. Death strips away everything except our most primal need for comfort. Colonel Arthur Fremantle, a British observer, calls the charge magnificent, easy to say from safety. Those who participated used different words: murder, madness, necessity. The gap between observation and experience becomes an abyss. Only those who've crossed it understand what waits inside its depths. After the battle, local woman Lydia Ziegler finds her garden destroyed. Among trampled vegetables, she discovers a Confederate soldier, barely alive, crawling toward her tomatoes. She feeds him one. He dies smiling. Mercy often comes in the smallest gestures during history's largest horrors. 20 Confederate battle flags are captured at the angle. Each represents a regiment's identity, their collective soul. Losing colors meant ultimate shame. Yet Private William Thomas throws his regiment's flag forward as he dies, hoping someone behind will carry it further. Hope outlasts the hoping. General Hancock, wounded but alive, sends this message to Meade. The enemy has been repulsed. 4 words to describe Armageddon. History loves condensation. But those who lived it knew, some events resist summary. Certain experiences expand beyond language. Some truths require lifetimes to partially understand. What endures from Pickett's charge? Not valor or cause or even courage, but this: when everything logical said stop, they continued. When survival meant retreat, they advanced. They proved humans can transcend self-preservation. That's either humanity's crown or its curse. Certainly both. Years later, a Gettysburg farmer plowing his field unearths a Confederate belt buckle. Inside, scratched with a knife. "Tell Martha I was brave." No name. No regiment. Just one man's need for someone to know he didn't falter. Anonymous courage seeking its witness across time. Last reunion happens in 1938. Two ancient veterans meet at the wall. They don't speak. Words feel inadequate. They just nod. Both were there. Both understand. Both carry what cannot be shared. Some bonds transcend language, nationality, even mortality itself completely. This story isn't about war. You're wrong if you think so. It's about the moment before, when David Johnston folded his letter, when that rabbit froze, when young men became history. It's about transformation's exact instant, when ordinary people choose extraordinary acts despite every reason to refuse. Private Carlton McCarthy summarizes Gettysburg precisely. "We went because we were ordered. We fought because we were there. We died because we were human. No politics. No valor. Just truth's bare bones." The simplest explanation is often the most profound. Duty operated beyond reason's reach. Today the field holds monuments, but also silence. Not empty silence, full silence. Pregnant with voices time hasn't erased. Stand there at sunset. Listen with more than ears. 15,000 spirits still cross that ground, leaving their testimony in wind's whisper through wheat. What's Pickett's charge's true legacy? Not military tactics or national unity, but this proof: humans will sacrifice everything for abstract concepts, honor, duty, country. We're the only species that dies for ideas. That's either our damnation or our salvation. History still hasn't decided which. Golden wheat shimmers under Pennsylvania's sun. Tourists walk where soldiers charged. Children play where men died. Life continues its ancient rhythm, indifferent to memory's weight. But when light falls just right, the past bleeds through. And we remember, ordinary people once did impossible things here.